Let's get into the holiday spirit and take a look at some of the most morbid Christmas facts that I've posted over the years. George Michael, who's known for the Christmas classic Last Christmas I Gave You My Heart, died on Christmas Day in 2016 from a heart condition. All of the characters in Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas were inspired by hallucinations he had during a fever that nearly killed him. In December of 1959, Dr. Harold Perelson murdered his wife with a hammer before taking his own life, all while his two little kids watched in horror. For the next 50 years afterwards, the home remained completely abandoned and untouched. Intruders over the years claim that the Christmas tree, unopened presents, and decorations could still be seen exactly as they were on that murderous night in 1959. While filming for The Grinch, the thick makeup and prosthetics made Jim Carrey feel like he was buried alive each day. It became so brutal for him that they had to hire a former CIA agent to teach him techniques for coping with torture. In 1932, Arizona, a man dressed as Santa Claus jumped from a plane to parachute into a Christmas parade. Sadly, his parachute failed to open, and hundreds of parents had to cover their kids' eyes as Santa plummeted to his death. South Park's Mr. Hanky the Christmas Pooh originated when Trey Parker was potty training at age 4. His father always told him that if he didn't flush his Mr. Hanky, it would come to life and murder him in his sleep. In 2018, a 66-year-old Canadian man was arrested for murdering 8 people over a 7-year span. During that time, he worked as a mall Santa in Toronto. Many of the indoor scenes in the movie Elf were shot inside an abandoned mental asylum in Canada. The Grinch as a kid was played by an 18-year-old actor with dwarfism. Sadly, he died of heart failure just 2 years after the movie released. There's a convincing fan theory that suggests Kevin McAllister from Home Alone grew up to become the serial killer Jigsaw from the Saw movie franchise. On Christmas Eve in 2008, Bruce Pardo entered his in-laws' California home while dressed as Santa Claus. But instead of giving his family a festive surprise, Bruce unleashed hell. He crashed the party of 25 people and took 9 lives, either by shooting them or dousing them in flames with his homemade flamethrower. With his Santa suit melted to his skin from the fire, he drove to his brother's house and turned the gun on himself. At age 15, David Bowie was punched in the eye by his best friend during a fight over a girl, causing serious damage to his vision and leaving his pupil permanently dilated. The injury gave him his iconic mismatched stare, but also left him nearly half blind, with blurred vision and terrible depth perception for the rest of his life. In Florida, a rescued otter named Splashed is being trained to sniff out human remains underwater. Unlike cadaver dogs, he can dive into murky waters where bodies are often impossible to find, sometimes because alligators drag corpses away and jam them under logs to hide them for later feeding. Splash can follow the scent through the water and mark the exact location. In 2020, 89-year-old British beekeeper Ron Hoskins lost everything in a suspected arson attack. For 2 decades, he'd been breeding super bees resistant to deadly mites, hoping to save collapsing bee populations worldwide. But vandals suddenly torched his greenhouse and shed, destroying his microscopes, generators, protective suits, and years of meticulous breeding records, while also wrecking dozens of hives containing the very colonies he had developed. Despite a police appeal for witnesses, no suspects were ever found, and in a single night, his life's mission to protect the future of bees was reduced to ashes by perpetrators that remain unknown. In 1991, 11-year-old California girl Jaycee Dugard was abducted by convicted sex offender Philip Garrido while waiting for her school bus. Garrido kept Jaycee handcuffed in various tents and sheds that he built in his backyard where he would consistently abuse her. 7 months into her captivity, Garrido introduced Jaycee to his wife Nancy, who brought the child a stuffed animal and chocolate milk while tearfully apologizing to her, but did nothing to free her. Instead, she helped her husband manipulate the young girl, at one point giving her 2 kittens before later taking them away. Jaycee was eventually forced to bear a daughter at age 14 and another at 17, though she was never allowed to see a doctor. She remained missing for 18 years until a parole officer finally discovered her while investigating Garrido. He was sentenced to 431 years in prison, while his wife received 36 years to life. The state of California eventually awarded the Dugard family $20 million for its mishandling of the case. In September of 2021, 3-year-old Sutton Mosser was stabbed to death by her mother. The 23-year-old woman claimed that the cartoon character SpongeBob told her to do it. During Hurricane Camille in 1969, the rainfall was so heavy in Virginia that birds were drowning in trees. The storm dumped 28 inches of rain over a 5-hour span and took the lives of over 100 people. After his wife died during a long route to the hospital, Dashrath Manji devoted his life to making the route shorter. He spent 22 years carving a 300-foot path through a mountain using only a hammer and chisel, and managed to shorten the journey from 34 miles to 9. 17-year-old Lisa Noland planned on ending her life just before she was abducted by serial killer Bobby Joe Long. He raped her several times and held her hostage for 26 hours until she managed to escape. Lisa got the man captured, as the traumatic experience gave her a new lease on life and inspired her to become a cop. To unlock the secrets of a genius, the man who performed Einstein's autopsy stole his brain and kept it in a jar for 20 years. He found that the part of Einstein's brain that processes math and language was 15% bigger than the average human's. Throughout history, a total of 9 nuclear submarines have been lost around the world. Most of them are still on the ocean floor with nuclear weapons that are still intact. A 17-year-old boy from Mexico City died after his girlfriend gave him a hickey. The suction created a blood clot that traveled to his brain, eventually causing a stroke. When the Soviet Union was pushing toward Berlin during World War II, a Nazi SS soldier was forced to play piano for his captors. They made it clear to him in sign language that he would be executed the moment he stopped playing. He played for 22 straight hours, after which he collapsed in tears. They congratulated him, then shot him. In 2016, Maze Runner star Dylan O'Brien was nearly killed during a stunt gone horribly wrong. While filming a scene involving 2 moving vehicles, he was violently dragged and run over, suffering a severe concussion, facial fractures, and brain damage. Production was shut down for nearly a year as he battled through physical and psychological recovery. At one point, O'Brien admitted he didn't know if he'd survive, let alone act again, saying he felt like a completely different person following the accident. Jamestown Governor John Ratcliffe, the real-life inspiration for the villain in Disney's Pocahontas, died horrifically in 1609. After being tricked and lured into an ambush by the Powhatan tribe, he was captured alive while most of his men were slaughtered. Colonial reports claimed Powhatan women skinned him alive using sharpened mussel shells, starting with his body and saving his face for last so that he'd remain conscious. They tossed strips of his flesh into a fire as he watched, then tied his fully skinned body to a stake and burned him alive, his screams echoing through the woods as a warning to any other Englishmen who dared to cross the Powhatan. Best known for her role on Modern Family, Sarah Hyland has undergone 2 kidney transplants and over a dozen surgeries due to a life-threatening condition called kidney dysplasia. While filming the show, she would often hold herself together just long enough to finish a scene, only to collapse in pain as soon as the camera stopped rolling. After her first kidney transplant failed, she spiraled into depression and revealed she had actively planned for her suicide, feeling like a burden to those around her. For years, she quietly endured chronic pain, medication side effects, and body image issues, all while playing the role of a bubbly sitcom star. In 2017, a petty argument over a $2 Call of Duty wager spiraled into a fatal tragedy. After 2 gamers got into a dispute, one of them enlisted a known SWATer to call in a fake hostage situation at an address in Wichita, Kansas. But the address given wasn't even the other players. It belonged to 28-year-old Andrew Finch, an innocent man with no connection to the game. When Finch stepped outside to see what was happening, a police sniper shot him dead within seconds despite Finch being unarmed. The SWATer, Tyler Barris, was later sentenced to 20 years in prison, and the city eventually paid Finch's family $5 million. He went to a high school party and never returned home. In May of 2022, tensions erupted between 2 groups of teens at a house party in Shelton, Connecticut. After an initial fight broke out at one location, the crowd dispersed, only for a second gathering to form later that night on Laurel Glen Drive. Among those who showed up was 16-year-old Raul Valley, who later admitted to arming himself with a knife before returning with his friends to confront the larger group. He claimed he acted in self-defense, saying he felt threatened and outnumbered when a brawl broke out again. During the chaos, Raul allegedly stabbed 4 teenagers, claiming he feared that his life was in danger, though some questioned the extent of his injuries based on the photos presented in court. According to witness testimony, as the fighting began to die down, Valley allegedly lunged at 17-year-old Fairfield Prep student Jimmy McGrath, who prosecutors described as an innocent bystander, fatally stabbing him in the chest as he was backing away. Valley later rejected a 40-year plea deal and took the case to trial in July of 2025. He was acquitted of murder, intentional manslaughter, and intentional assault, but the jury deadlocked 11-1 on reckless manslaughter, resulting in a partial mistrial. Prosecutors are now pursuing a retrial on those unresolved charges. In the aftermath, a wave of support for Raul flooded social media, often ignoring or downplaying the death of Jimmy altogether. Posts portraying Valley as the real victim while blaming Jimmy simply for being there quickly circulated, despite numerous witness accounts stating Jimmy had no involvement in the conflict. Remembered as a standout lacrosse player, Jimmy was the only teen who lost his life that night, a senseless tragedy that left a hole in the town he grew up in. His death remains a heartbreaking reminder of how quickly teenage conflict can result in the loss of an innocent life, as those closest to him are still waiting for true accountability.